Welcome, level uppers, to another live reaction time. We're here on Twitch, we're on PC, we're on PS4, and I've got Mike with me, my co-host for tonight. And I'm Andrew Midori, if you guys don't know. Our IDs are at the bottom of the screen. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, all that good stuff. And if you don't know, Reaction Time is our discussion of your favorite TV shows. You know, we did The Walking Dead, we did Better Call Saul. Now we're moving on to Game of Thrones, maybe The Leftovers in the future. Daredevil's going to be coming up pretty soon.
Yeah.
And Mike might be a part of that as well. Maybe Greg and Mike. I'm not sure entirely yet what we're going to do with Daredevil. We might try and do multiple people, but that should be fun.
Yes, it will.
How you doing, man?
I'm great. I'm loving it. Today was an interesting day, and I've been playing a crap ton of Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, let's talk about it a little bit because you're gonna be playing it tonight.
Yeah. Dude, I'm so excited. It's so fun. I've been playing a little bit of the story. I did a couple towers. Some of the trophies are a lot easier to get than I anticipated, but there's other ones that are going to be more difficult, obviously. But everything just flows so much more fluidly. And I'm not a big man on fighters in general, but it definitely feels like an advanced version of Mortal Kombat 9 and Injustice and a mix and just, an evolved form of that. So it's beautiful. I love every minute of it.
It definitely moves at a solid 60 frames per second from what I can tell. I've been watching a little bit.
Easily. I've not seen any stutter, any issues with frame rate at all whatsoever. It's graphically, it's near flawless.
That's awesome.
It's so, I love it. I love every minute of it.
Awesome. Well, let's get into the episode. I'm going to play it in the background for you guys. In the meantime, I switched over to the main screen. There we go. So I'll put this on in the background so you guys can follow along a little bit behind us. Speaking of Game of Thrones, it leaked.
It did.
Yeah, like 5 or so episodes, supposedly.
Yeah, I know a lot of people have been watching it, and it's getting tough because a couple of those people apparently live on Facebook, and they constantly want to talk about it. And it's just, I've had to start unfollowing people, and it's not cool. But what's funny is they were like, why don't you just watch and catch up with me? And I'm like, it kind of ruins it in a way. Like,
yeah.
I don't want to. Part of the fun is the anticipation of like, oh my God, what's going to happen? Those people watching 4 or 5 episodes now have to wait more than a month. And on top of that, they can't talk to anybody about it. So
yeah, definitely. I'm not going to watch it at all, just because if I can, I like to watch a show how it's intended to be seen.
Absolutely.
Game of Thrones, I feel like one is a little risky in that regard because I don't want to be spoiled, and you know how people can be. They can be the worst. But I'm going to try and stick it out and just watch it how it's meant to be watched.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm in the same boat.
Yeah, we got a few people in the room. Ebenezer's here. Welcome, man. We're just starting right now. This was episode 1. This is season 5 here. The biggest premiere yet for Game of Thrones. 8 million people watched it.
Wow.
Yeah, it's obviously every year just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and that's even with the leak. So I'm sure some people pirated it, maybe didn't watch it, and this still was the biggest opening yet.
That's nuts. That's ridiculous.
The episode started off with the first ever flashback we've ever seen in Game of Thrones.
Yeah, and I liked it. It was interesting. You and I kind of guessed it right away. There was a couple other people we were with that didn't really know what was going on, but I figured out immediately. I didn't know Cersei supposedly had a lesbian relationship.
I was going to bring that up. Yeah, it seemed like the girl she was with, they seemed to be like lesbian friends. They were holding hands. That doesn't mean that they are lesbians, but it just kind of felt that way.
It was interesting. And it's funny because it's not like, I was kind of hoping something happened to her along the way, but no, she was just one of those rotten little shit kids that I was talking about long ago. They're just terrible people from the birth to the end. And
they did a good job getting a girl that looked like Cersei. Lena Headey, I think her name is.
I have no idea. You know way more than that.
Yeah, I just know her from like Sarah Connor Chronicles and even 300. She was the queen in 300. So she's always played a strong, female, powerful role, and she does it really well. She does it really well in Game of Thrones. And the girl had that essence. This little girl, they go to see a witch. Actually, it comes off as something from like a fairy tale. It's very bizarre, and she wants to know her future. So she gives her blood to this witch, even though the witch tells her, "You're not going to like what I tell you." And then asks her, am I going to become queen? She says, yes, everything's true. And then when she says, are we going to have kids? She says, Robert will have 20, you will have 3. And she's like, that doesn't make any sense. And then the quote here is very interesting. I'll read it off. Gold will be their crowns, gold their shrouds. What do you think that means?
It's just they're going to live in riches, and then they're going to be buried by the riches. They're going to be succumb, whether it's from greed or anything like that. It's going to crush them.
I also think that it also is implying that they're all going to die before she dies. And this has been
Yeah.
something that has been haunting Cersei her entire life. And I think it's because of this moment with the witch we're finally finding out is she knows that her children are going to die, and that she's just waiting for it to happen. She's lost Joffrey. She still has Tommen left. I don't know if that means that her daughter will die. Probably not because she's not, a boy. But I think this means Tommen will also die in the near future.
Yeah, and you know what's interesting too, and one thing I didn't pick up on until I was thinking about it afterwards is she Cersei obviously Cersei slept with her brother, and that's how she had her children and everything. But it wasn't just one. It wasn't just one family member. It was multiple. She
Yeah.
slept with her nephew, I think it was, or cousin.
Her
I
cousin
forget the name.
Lancel, yeah.
And I think it's kind of one of those things where she did it on purpose because of the fortune. It was kind of one of those things that your fate is what you make it. And by her knowing what her future was, she went out of her way to do whatever she could to have children, in whatever weird means possible.
Yeah, maybe she's trying to break it in some way, shape, or form. This
Absolutely.
curse that has been set upon her by this witch. It's not even a curse. It's just this is her future.
No,
This
this
is
is
what's
what
going to
she said
happen. This
is
is
going
what's
to
meant to
happen. She's
happen.
trying to, she's trying to change it.
Yeah. After that, we go to Tywin's funeral. Obviously in the season finale of 4, he was killed by Tyrion, as
I
well
really
as
forgot. I
what was
really
that?
forgot about that. I honestly forgot that he killed him, and it
Yeah.
was. I was like, oh my god, I completely forgot about this. It was nuts.
It wasn't just Tywin that was killed. It was also Shay.
Yeah.
Um,
And she deserved it. She betrayed him like ridiculously bad. It wasn't even just she was doing she was manipulated or anything like that. She screwed him poorly.
In the books, supposedly she was even a bigger bitch than she is in the show.
Wow.
Yeah, like she's absolutely terrible in the books to the point where she never loved him. In the show, you feel like she loved him, but then when she thinks that Tyrion is betraying her and all this kind of stuff, she kind of lashes out,
Right.
woman scorn. But in the book, it's that she never loved him. She was always playing him. So it's
Wow.
even worse in the book than it is in the show. But yeah, Tywin is dead, and Cersei's talking with Jaime about how he accidentally caused this to happen. And how with Tyrion, it's like, at least he purposefully killed his dad. You accidentally killed him by letting
Right.
Tyrion go. She's essentially blaming Jaime here.
Right. And that is. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, I had no idea that he was going to kill him. I had no idea.
Yeah, I didn't either.
That kind of took me away. But at the end of the day, you can't. She's going to say whatever, and she doesn't. She's not the type of person that really reasons things out. She sees it her way, and that's how it is. It's not
Yeah.
like she doesn't retread after she's lashed out at somebody. I guess you could say.
She's also very, very good at, I don't know if you would call it a guilt trip, but she has a way with words to really just like stab a knife in your chest. With Tyrion especially, she knows where to go. It's like she always
Right.
brings up the fact that Tyrion killed the mother in
Right.
childbirth. Like things like that. She's so like mean. She's just a mean person.
I mean,
Um,
I'm Team Tyrion all the way, 100%. That's why I even have this.
you got the
So
Lannister on, yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, and did they bring anything up? She basically is kind of implying that she wants him to maybe seek Tyrion out and get vengeance, because she blames Jaime for causing this to happen.
I mean, I don't know. I think that's just what she's insinuating. I don't think it's going to happen.
No, I don't think so either.
You're going to see a greater wall split between her and Jaime, and she's going to be left on an island by herself, essentially.
I want to thank Crackman for just following us, and I just want to say real quick that if we do get 10 follows, we'll give away some XP, of course. That's our follow goal for right now. Let's move on to the next scene. We then go to Tyrion, who is landing in Pentos finally. He was stuffed in a crate for who knows how long, with Varys shitting in the box and stuffing it out of air holes, and then Varys had to take that shit and throw it overboard.
That was easily probably anything with those two has been the highlight of the series for me. They're very entertaining together. They're both very quippy, and they're a little bit more lighthearted, I guess you could say, than the rest of the cast. And it's very entertaining. Like when he said, having to shove your shit through the hole, and he's like, no, but I had to throw it over.
Throw it overboard. Yeah, that was a good line. And this episode didn't have too many comedic moments, really. This was the only part between Varys and Tyrion. I love the relationship. And I love Varys because he's such an interesting character. He's so about the realm. He constantly says that he serves the realm. He doesn't serve a man or a woman. He serves the realm. And whoever is going to go on that throne and bring peace to the world, that's who he wants. And for some reason, he really thinks Dany is that person.
Daenerys.
Daenerys, yeah, and honestly, I'm not quite sure why.
You know what? And I've said it. I've thought it from almost the beginning. As soon as she stepped out of the fire with the
Yeah.
with the dragon eggs, I have a strong feeling. I'm 100% Team Daenerys, and I feel like she's going to be the one that kind of takes over
Oh
everything.
yeah, she's very powerful, but the thing here is, we'll get to it a little later in the episode. She's not really a queen of dragons right now, and we'll get to that a little later on now.
Right. Yeah.
Let's get to that later. After that, we do jump to Marine, which is where Daenerys is, but we focus on an Unsullied who, at first, very much confused us.
Yeah, we thought it was one of those like silent changing out of the cast thing with Grey Worm.
Yeah, exactly, and I was worried because he gets his throat slit, and
Right at the beginning.
right, yeah, it was very weird. He was in a brothel. And he thinks he's being comforted. You know, obviously they're eunuchs, so they don't have anything down there, so they just go to seek comfort in a very
Down there, so.
they have in a very motherly way, I guess. They just want that comfort.
Well,
And then he gets his throat slit.
they kind of bring that up. I can't remember the servant or whatever.
Yeah, I can't think of her name either.
But she actually brings up the Grey Worm later on. You know, why was he down? Why were they down there? And I'm going to tell you right now. I have a strong feeling that if your mother was in the brothel, a whore, you were sent immediately to be an Unsullied. So all these Unsullied have come from quote unquote whores, and that's why they go to these brothels to seek comfort back from their mothers, because that's the only womanly comfort they've ever known.
Yeah, I think that's probably very true. That's a good assessment of the situation. But it sounds like it's just the people in the town aren't happy, that the city aren't happy that they've taken over, that Daenerys is trying to take over. Then we jump to the wall, where Jon is asked by Stannis at the very top to plead with Mance for him to take the knee and basically enlist his army of wildlings, his entire army of giants and just everything, to Stannis for the war.
I'm going to say right now, I hate I understand that as a leader, you have to show strength and power, and you have to kind of instill a little bit of fear but respect at the same time. And that's what Stannis does well, but I really hate when they meet other quote-unquote leaders or people of respect, and they talk down to them.
Yeah.
And in this situation, you're asking somebody who has respect the majority of his grouping, as well as your enemy, and you kind of talk. And he was kind of talking down to him, as in, they were. I mean, they don't have to be equals, but he was making it seem like this guy, Rob Stark, had no choice, and he was going to have to do what he said because, I own you, almost in a way. And I don't know.
Everybody speaks down to Jon, and that way, and that's his entire life because he's a bastard. He's a Snow, so it's not even just. I think Stannis would talk down to almost anybody, but because he thinks he's the rightful king, and he's very cocky in that regard. Varys talks about it earlier that Stannis is too ruthless, I think he says, and Tommen is too weak, and that he thinks Daenerys is that middle ground. So Stannis is really strong-willed. But what did you think when he asked Jon to plead with Mance? Did you think that it was possible that Mance would give his army over?
I knew it was going to be met with resistance, and we'll get to what happened in the end. But I didn't. I thought it was going to go a little bit better than it went. In some way, especially because they had. But I knew the entire dungeon scene was going to happen the exact same way that it happened. That was no shocker to me. It was very interesting, and I love scenes like that with two people who respect each other in the same way, even though they're on opposite sides. Those are my favorite type of scenes because they're going to have big words and meaningful, speeches almost in a way that kind of like hit home. And it was a very, very interesting and fun to watch.
Well shot scene too, I have to say. This episode was beautiful. Let's talk about that real quick. Man, this show every year gets to a point where it's getting closer and closer to a big budget film.
Oh my God, it's ridiculous. And you know what's funny is actually the one that struck me more than anything else is when it's when Cersei is walking up for her father's funeral, and she's walking up like a legit town. It doesn't look like any CGI. There's a dove that flies by at one point, and it's like, where the hell are you shooting this?
I know, right? And especially the hall where Tywin is on the, he has the thing on his eyes, basically his viewing, I guess you could say. That room is partially constructed. They built that set, but otherwise it's CGI filling in those really tall totems and stuff, and it's just absolutely beautiful. And then it followed by Marine with the thing being toppled, that statue at the top, falling down to the ground, the CGI there, the dust lifting when it hits. Like, everything about this episode was beautiful from a production standpoint. Moving on from that, we go to Sansa and Littlefinger, who are on their way. I think Sansa believes it's to the Fingers, but they're actually going west, and Littlefinger's doing this to hide her from Cersei. He says that she's not even going to be able to find you where we're going. But what's kind of funny about the scene is Brienne and Pod are off to the side talking about the Stark girls, talking about how Arya didn't want to come. Brienne is really down. Then Pod is trying to say, we still have Sansa out there, and then they pass right by.
Right, and he's saying that she's like, I don't care, we're not going to find her, or something like that, which is very entertaining. And I mean, it was one of those like, oh, of course you had to do that. What a coincidence type things.
Yeah.
But it was definitely entertaining.
It gave a chuckle.
Right. What's interesting though is I'm noticing. I think he's going to also. I think everybody's going to meet up in the West. I feel like all the big key members at King's Landing are all the ones that we like Littlefinger and everything, and the Spider. And now Tyrion and everybody, they're all gonna, meet at a head in the West and kind of, work together with, what was the Viper? Was that his name?
The Viper was the guy that died last season by the Mountain's hand.
Right. They're kind of gonna meet in his area, in his, locale, together over there and start, their kind of coup, along to help Daenerys and try to, throw over,
Sure, yeah.
Landing.
It also was interesting here that Brienne is really, really just beaten down at this point. Her entire purpose was to fulfill Kat's wishes, to find Arya, to find Sansa. She found Arya. She didn't want anything to do with Brienne. And not even just that, it's just, she says, I want to read this quote off here, "The good lords are dead and the rest of them are monsters." So she feels like all she's wanted to do her entire life is serve a lord that she believes in, and she feels like they're all gone now.
Yep, absolutely. And it's going to be interesting, and I feel like she's going to eventually meet up with Stannis. I would love to see her meet up on the side of Daenerys and everything like that. And it would make sense a little bit in that way. She's never going to King's Landing again. Let's just get that out there.
Probably not.
She's going to be against, her quote-unquote friend, Jaime Lannister, for most of the series, I guess, the rest of it, for however long either one of them is alive. God knows, God forbid they get married. But I feel like it's kind of interesting. I don't know because, like I said, she's in the area. She's in the east, where Stannis is about to make his way up towards King's Landing. So it's very likely she'll go there. But it would be cool to see her kind of follow under Daenerys, just because it's like the women respecting the woman thing.
Sure, yeah.
They could go with that. He could go that route and say like, she's not a knight according to anybody else, but Daenerys could see her as the knight that she is, and because she's a woman as well.
Sure. I want to welcome some people to the room. We're getting a lot of people in here now, 20, and we also have some people that have watched future episodes. They're not spoiling anything, but Oh Batman Is Me said the end of season 5, episode 4 was really insane. So people are jumping ahead. They are watching these leaked episodes.
Guys, nothing in the chat, please. And when I say that, I mean it's Instaban.
Yeah, and it's not just for our sake. There's a lot of people, that might be watching that don't want to be spoiled. We really appreciate it if you guys could, keep your thoughts to yourself if you did watch future episodes. But thank you so much for coming in. This is reaction time on season 5, episode 1. And if at any point you do like what we're doing here, we do it every week. Follow us, hit that heart button, live from PlayStation. We've already gotten 2 follows tonight. If we get to that follow goal of 10, I will give out some XP to the room. Let's move on to the next scene here. We're back to Tywin's funeral. Cousin Lancel that we see, and he looks completely different. Like, I didn't even recognize him.
I didn't know it was the same person until he started talking about back when you had me with Robert and everything, and I was like, oh my God, that's that kid.
Yeah, well, he had that really effeminate haircut before. Now he's got the short hair, but he also looks like more buff. Like, I don't know if he built himself up for this role for some reason. I have no idea, and I'm not really quite sure why his look has changed entirely. He's had a very change of heart. Like his faith is restored, the light of the seven, and all this kind of stuff. And he goes to Cersei and he apologizes to her for tempting her. Because, as you said earlier, they were having sex together, the cousin and Cersei. But he also brings up something that we haven't heard of in a very long time: the fact that now confirmed Cersei planned Robert's death by telling Lancel to give him as much wine as possible during the boar hunt.
Right, absolutely, and it's kind of one of those things where it was an unspoken truth.
Yeah, I knew it from the beginning.
Absolutely, everybody did. You can tell with the type of person that she is. But it's kind of cool when they come out and say these things. I just like her, reaction to him. It's kind of one of those things where if you get, approached by a Mormon at your door, you're kind of just like, all right, yeah, no, that's cool, it's cool. And then, but he kept up with it. She kind of laughed it off and insulted him in a way, and he ended up, walking away, which is kind of
Sure.
interesting. And even his father apologized for the way he was now, or and said,
Yeah.
I can't wait till he grows out of it or something like that.
Do you
Which was
think that that Cersei kills Lancel or for knowing this information and now talking about it suddenly, or do you think that she's not worried about him?
I don't know. What's weird is I don't know what the point of that scene was. And it's weird because they've done that before, where they bring up things like that just to get 100% closure on it.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
confirmation now.
but at the same time, a lot of times when they bring stuff like that up, it's kind of a little bit of foreshadowing, seeing that she's going to do something else that might get a little more trouble. So I don't know. It's really weird.
Yeah, it might come back in some way, shape, or form, but like you said, it might just be that they wanted to finally confirm that truth.
Yeah.
After that, we jump to Loras Tyrell, who is not being very discreet in hiding his gayness.
No. Interesting scene. And you know what I love? I can't remember her name, but his sister. And his sister
Marjorie.
Really, Marjorie.
Yeah.
The actress name, but I can't remember what her name is. Oh my God, she's gorgeous. She's easily my favorite person on there to look at on the show.
Yeah, she is very pretty. She always has this little smirk going on. I don't know if that's like a permanent thing with her lips or what, but
she seems like that. She has that very smug, like very sure of herself.
Yeah.
She knows how pretty she is, but she's also not a complete bitch like Cersei is.
Do you want to know what's kind of crazy is I think that she would make the best queen of anybody on the show.
Easily. Well, I'm wondering if that's what they're kind of setting it up for.
Yeah.
There's a reason why she's still there. Otherwise, they would have killed her off, or done something with her. There's no reason to have.
She has compassion, and I don't know entirely if it's fake or not. It might be fake, but I do think she has compassion. But she also knows how to play the game. There's something I like about her.
Right. I mean, and what's funny, what I love about it is that she hates Cersei, and it shows easily. And
Yeah.
Cersei is actually one of my, I despise Cersei. I can't.
I think everybody despises Cersei. Her only redeeming quality is that she is a good mother and she cares about her children. That's about it.
Yeah, and I'll give her that. But it was really funny, like at the funeral, as she's walking up the steps, Marjorie just like smirks at her, has this like smile on her face, kind of like a ha.
And that was what was really interesting about this scene is Loras thinks now that he just doesn't have to marry Cersei anymore. Tywin is dead. He was the one who was going to force that marriage. But then when he talks to Marjorie and says, "You're screwed," I think I might have the quote here. He says, "You're trapped here with Cersei Lannister as your mother-in-law," and she says, "Perhaps."
Right.
What do you think?
I don't know what's going to go on in this situation. I mean, the grandmother kind of told her, you just, you grin you grin it and bear it and do what you need to get ahead in a way.
Yeah.
And obviously, we know what happened, at the end of last season with little shit.
Do you think that she tries to kill Cersei, or is she just saying that she's going to find a way out of this?
I think that she's going to try to find a way out of it, and I think it's going to backfire, and she's going to take her grandmother's advice and take action just like her grandmother did.
Maybe.
Before.
I don't think she's concerned about marrying Tom, and I think she actually likes that idea because she's already started to manipulate him. We saw that last season. And even crazier, another reason that I like Marjorie is she was even able to manipulate Joffrey. She was the only one that was really able to manipulate Joffrey.
Well, what was interesting too, and what you kind of skipped over because it was like almost a quick scene like that was Cersei noticed Tomlin being taken by another woman down on the dance floor. And he didn't know anybody was watching him, but it was kind of interesting setting up like he's obviously not all into Marjorie 100%, so she's going to probably try to take advantage of that now.
Yeah, but I'm with you. I really do like Marjorie, and I hope that she doesn't mess up here with her plan against Cersei. I hope it doesn't backfire on her and cause her death because she is actually one of the characters I really like on the show right now. After that, we move back to Pentos with Tyrion and Varys, and I'm kind of repeating myself here, but this is where he does say, "Come with me. Let's go to Meereen. Let's meet Daenerys," because he's basically digging into Tyrion, like, stop feeling sorry for yourself. This is one of your not redeeming qualities. Right. Let's go to Pentos and meet the woman I think should be on the throne.
The greeting that they had to each other was perfect, well executed. It was like a little quip at the other person. He's like the eunuch or whatever, and whatever he said.
The spider.
The spider. Yeah, but he said like a couple insult titles, and he's like the midget dwarf, the demon, or whatever.
Yeah.
And it was just really funny, and that's what I like about him. But it was, and scenes like that, scenes with the spider, I really enjoy because monk type characters in any type of show hold a lot of wisdom, and the way that they speak is very, very grabbing. It kind of gets your attention right away, just because it's really deep. And that's what I like about how he talks to Tyrion. He kind of tries to build up the excitement back into him,
Sure,
and
yeah.
the confidence that he should have, because Tyrion is easily one of the greatest characters in the show. So.
Yeah, and he has another funny line at the end of the scene. Don't drink yourself to death here. And then Tyrion says, "Can I drink myself to death on the way to Marine?" So he's not going to stop feeling sorry for himself, but he's willing to go along with it and meet this Daenerys. And I think that's going to be really interesting to finally have those two come together, characters that have never ever been in a scene together on this show. And it's got to be interesting for the actors as well. A lot of them probably never have met, and I think that's kind of funny.
Really, really interesting about that. That's what I like about seeing how this works. It's almost like watching the first season for the first time again, just because the show is almost two different shows. It's what's going on in the web. Like you could easily have Game of Thrones A and then Game of Thrones B,
Yeah.
and up an entire show for each one. So this is kind of
Well, it's kind of like the books. That was something people had a problem with the books, is that 2 books in a row, 4 and 5, told the same story timeline-wise, but on different areas of the world. And that bothered some people. And some people think those books should have been combined. And originally they were meant to be combined. It's just that it was too large of a book, so we decided to split it into 2. George R. R. Martin, of course. After that, we go back to Marine, and the people are once again coming to her and saying, "We want the fighting pits back," which is basically human cockfighting.
what she calls it. Yes.
Yeah, and Daenerys obviously is completely against this. No surprise there at all. But then when she talks to Dahario, he actually says, "Do it. Open up the fighting pits." And this is coming from somebody that used to be a human cockfighter.
Right, and she's taken aback by it, and she doesn't understand. Like it's one, and he says, this is why I am who I am. Without the fighting pits, I would never have been here by your side. Because it forced me to be the person I became.
Sure.
And it's one of those things where in situations like back in that time, I don't understand how you would not see the value in it. Your people will be restless, and this is one of the only ways to keep them occupied. Maybe not have them, fight to the death, or maybe change the way that you do it. But I don't know. I think her stubbornness against it is kind of dumb.
Yeah, and Dahario also touches on the fact that she's not really the queen she's meant to be right now. He's talking to her about how can she rule this area, how can she continue to move forward and become queen. And he says, quote here, once again, he says, "A dragon queen with no dragons, that's not a queen."
Right. And
So,
it's interesting because that leads you into what happens a little bit later on.
right after that, immediately following that, she does go down to the dungeons where she trapped her dragons.
Right, and they are not happy.
No, they're not. This was a pretty scary scene. They're even worse than they were before.
Right, and it's weird because she was able, she had their, she was the mother. They looked
Yep.
at her like the mother, and they're going to rebel a little bit. But what's interesting is they have no feeling of respect at all whatsoever for her now. And immediately they started lashing out and blowing fire at her, which, I mean, realistically, the fire's not going to hurt her. But
I wonder. She is still is scared though. I'm wondering if there's a certain point where she can't withstand fire. I wonder, if there's a certain limit to her powers there. But it's not even just she doesn't even have one of her dragons. One of them's still entirely missing, and who knows where? Probably killing children.
And it's really, really weird. And she even says, like, I can't have another dead child at my, steps.
Yeah.
About it, and that's why she had him locked up. But I mean, realistically, let's talk about that for a second. I mean, I'm near certain, and when I say near certain, I'm 99% sure that the dragons are going to come out, and she's going to tame them in a weird. I don't know exactly how she's going to do it, but she's going to be able to tame.
They're
them.
setting this up for that. I feel it's going to be a pivotal moment when she's able to somehow get her dragons back on her side. It's gonna be a really cool moment. I'm excited to see how she gets them back on her side and tames them and becomes the mother of dragons once again. Before we move on, I want to welcome another 4 people to the room. We're up to 24 now. Thank you so much for joining. This is the Level Up Network. I'm Andrew Midori, and I'm here with Mike McLaughlin. We're talking about Game of Thrones Season 5, Episode 1. We do this every week with Reaction Time, as well as a lot of other TV shows. You can check them out on our YouTube at youtube.com/TheLevelUpShow. It's on the sign right there. You can also follow us on Twitch if you want to watch them live. Do it right now. Click that heart button at the bottom of the screen, and we'll shout you out.
Do it now.
Do it now. After that, we go back to the wall, and we're getting to that scene, which was really awesome. You were talking about earlier, where Jon pleads to Mance to take the knee and give his army to Stannis.
Yeah, and it was a really cool scene altogether. Is that the part? That wasn't the latter part, though. Was that the right?
This was right before that final scene, that emotional scene at the end.
Yeah, absolutely. That was, and like I said, there was a lot of heavy words said in the dungeon. It was really cool. Like I said, it's very impactful when they have scenes like that. Two people
Yeah.
that enemies, but they respect each other. And they both had good endings to it. Mance is very stubborn,
Yeah.
but he has a lot of pride.
He does.
No, it says, are you gonna, is this how you're gonna, let all your people die by your pride, or something along those lines.
He says it's not about pride, actually, is what he says. He even says to John, another quote here, but if you can't understand why I won't enlist my people in a foreigner's war, there's no point in explaining it.
Absolutely, and it's kind of an interesting thing because it's almost topical, currently.
Yeah.
It's in a way, it's very interesting that was a line that had to be said. But I actually disagree with Mance. It's one of those things where I get it. I completely, but I'm actually on the side of Jon Snow, and even Stannis, because it makes more sense to save your people. Yourself.
I agree as well. He thinks that by doing this, he's showing himself as not the leader that they thought he was, but that doesn't really matter in the end, because in the end, he's not gonna be their leader anymore. Stannis is gonna become their leader, but he could still. They could have made something out of this situation, I think, in my opinion.
Absolutely, and Jon Snow even brings that up directly. He says, your people, so congratulations, your people are going to sing stories and praise your name for what, a year before they all die?
Yeah.
Winter comes.
Winter is coming.
No more stories ever about your name. Your name will die right then and there. And it's kind of, he's 100% right, and that's exactly what I said. I feel, I wish he went, with the Jon Snow route, but.
Oh wait, we got a subscription. That's why I got distracted there. Or actually a resubscription. Dave resubbed to us. Noble Metal Gamer.
I love Dave, and you'll be seeing him tonight on my stream.
Nice. Dave, thank you so much for resubbing, man. Really appreciate that. Anybody that wants to support our show even more than a follow can subscribe to the channel. It is $5 a month, but we appreciate all follows as well. Don't forget to hit that heart button. But as you were getting to, it does get to that part where, during their conversation, he's asking, what's it going to be? Is it going to be hanging? Is it going to be beheading? And then he says, burning alive. And even Mance is kind of taken aback by that.
You see the fear in his eyes. He does not like that. He's like, did he say, like, bad way to go?
Yeah, he says, bad way to go. And he said, it's going to hurt and all this kind of stuff. But, I'd rather this happen than give up my people to a foreigner's war. Super McNasty, thank you for the follow there. So it does then go to the final scene in the episode where he is boss, man. This guy's boss. He goes up to Stannis. Stannis asks him to take the knee, and he says, quote, I wish you good fortune in the war to come.
Right. And it's kind of like a perfect way to, like, there's nothing better that you can say in that moment. Trying to give a huge speech, against him is stupid, for him is stupid, keep it quick, keep it, small, and, give your sentiment of basically fuck you, but in the most respectful way possible.
Yeah, right? I thought so. I like Mance in the short time we had him because he does die here. Nothing happens to stop this scene. And I was wondering if it would, I was wondering if John was going to step in or his own people, because when Melisandre does light the pyres, you can see his people, they didn't want it to happen. Like, they would have been completely okay with him being like, no, like, it's okay.
Even what's his name? The guy with the beard.
The big beard, yeah, exactly.
Beardly. I can't even remember his
Beardly,
name.
let's call him that, yeah.
Beardly.
But even he was shaking. You could see his mouth kind of quivering. Like, should I say something? Should I stop this from happening? John as well. John leaves the scene. You're thinking it's because he just doesn't want to watch. But then as the fire is getting closer and closer, and you can see Mance is trying not to scream. He's trying to hold it in. He's trying to be boss, but it's starting to cook him. Then what happens?
Jon Snow comes in. Like I said, I knew this was going to happen, and it was just because of the way they set up the scene. But Jon Snow grabs the bow and just shoots him right in the heart. And Mance, what sucks is Mance didn't, like, it kind of was one of those things where I'm not sure if Mance even realized what happened at all. He kind of looks over towards him, but, he just ends up dying, which was great because, it's a very humane and it's a very huge sign of respect. And I think with doing this, Jon Snow is now going to have the respect of what are they called?
The wildlings?
Wildlings.
Oh, yeah, he'll definitely have their respect, but what about Stannis?
Well, here's the thing. So this is what I foresee for the next scene where you see Jon Snow and Stannis. Stannis is going to be flipping shit.
Yes, he is. I would think so.
And Jon Snow is going to be saved because now he has the respect of the wildlings. He's going to be able to convince them to join under Stannis. And, they're going to be able to see the reason in the way that Mance was not, and that's going to redeem Jon Snow. Yeah,
it's kind of funny that Mance, is kind of probably going to die for no reason because he didn't want them to list in the army, but Jon Snow doing this is probably going to cause them to rally behind Jon, and then when Jon says join Stannis' army, they're all going to do it anyway. So pretty much what Mance didn't want to happen is going to happen.
Yeah, and it was kind of a stupid thing altogether, but it was a very, very impactful end to the episode.
Emotional.
And the episode in general was just okay, in my opinion. I mean, it was a good opening. But overall, I thought it was okay, but this was a very impactful ending. The reason it was only okay is because there was a lot of setup. The majority of the show was just set up for something that's to come later on.
Yeah, I do agree that this wasn't this didn't blow me away, this episode, and I think that there were other season openers that were much, much better than this one. This might be even at the bottom. I didn't dislike the episode. It was clearly set up for future episodes to come. And even people in the chat room that have watched the future episodes, they say that this season is a lot like 1, where it's just a lot of build-up, it seems. And I'm okay with that, because season 1 is still personally my favorite season.
See, it's actually really funny, and I'm probably going to get a lot of hate for this, but the first episode is actually my least favorite episode I've seen.
The first episode?
Yeah.
Really?
It took me a couple episodes. With the exception of the first, 15 minutes, the first episode was easily my least favorite out of all the episodes I've seen.
Well, it's a tough thing. When you have a show like this with so many characters and so many relationships to establish, that first episode was entirely that. It was just, who are these people? What is this world? And in some ways, that's cool, and I like that. Like, for instance, there's the Harry Potter series, for instance. So you have all these films, and even though, Prisoner of Azkaban, I think, is the best one, I have a very strong fondness for the first, because that's when you meet everybody. That's when you meet all the characters. So for that reason, that's another one that season 1 just holds a strong place in my heart. I met all these characters, and I did like the centralized focus of having one big character, being Ned, of course. And I kind of missed that, to be honest with you. I miss that focus, and now it's just jumping around constantly. I kind of wish we could get back to a focus on one character in a way.
Right, which is what I was hoping would happen to Rob. But
yeah, never mind that.
Right. Well, yeah, now you even told you that pissed me off just because he was my favorite character up to that point, and that just got screwed horribly. One scene that you did miss that I thought was really entertaining. Can
we pause for 1 second?
Absolutely.
Because I'm going to turn on the Skype lines, and somebody might call in, somebody not. But while we close off the show in the last couple minutes, we can wait for somebody to call in if they want to, and maybe talk about this episode as well. Oh wait, never mind. You're on Skype. I'm not sure if somebody can call in. You could try, guys, and I might be able to double you guys in a dual conference call. Call in on Skype at the Level Up Show, spelled exactly how it sounds, no spaces, if you want.
Yeah. But one scene that you did miss out is with Littlefinger and what's her name, the redhead.
Sansa.
Where they're watching the little Robin, the little fighting or trying to fight and getting the crap beat out of them. That scene I feel like is going to be a little bit more interesting as the series comes, or it could be just the end to the show. It could be kind of setting up for something later on that we won't see for a while, on out, or it could just be like, hey, he's here now, and this is the end of that kingdom and that whole storyline.
He's such a brat of a kid. It's not even just like he's weak and all this kind of stuff too, but he has no redeeming qualities in my opinion. Remember last season with the snow castle that Sansa was building, and then he stomps on it like a little kid. Oh my God, he's such a brat.
I would punch him.
Yeah, and Sansa does. Remember, she slaps him across the face.
I would have pushed him down the hole.
Right.
Out of his misery.
I think that could be amusing if he dies in a funny way, but that's terrible to say, because what is he, like a 10-year-old kid?
Something like that. I think he might be 12, but he was sucking on his mom's boob. I don't care anymore. At that point, you're just broken. You're beyond repair.
From Hell says, I prefer slow build-ups, makes the twists more impactful. I can agree with that, and that's what made season 1 so impactful, is that it was all building up to that end. Nobody saw that coming with Ned unless you read the books, because they were building up that character to be something important, and then goodbye, he's gone.
Yeah, I was not happy with that. I was so unhappy with that.
And they've done that a few times. Obviously Rob was the other one, and Joffrey. I was totally shocked when Joffrey was poisoned.
That was going to happen. I mean, it was almost. I didn't know it was going to happen that quickly.
Yeah, I just. I thought he was going to be somebody that was a villain to the end, because the show had made such a point of killing off the good guys and not the bad guys, that at that point I was like, he's just somebody you love to hate, and they're going to keep him around because we hate him so much, and that's what Game of Thrones is. The good guys die, the bad guys live, and I feel like that was totally George R. R. Martin's point when he was writing the books. He's like, nobody is going to see this coming. We just killed Rob, we just killed all these people. Everybody thinks that I'm all about the bad guys. Now I'm going to poison Joffrey, and everybody at that point is like, Arya is going to be the one to kill Joffrey. She's been keeping Needle for all these years.
Wanted that so much,
Yeah.
so badly.
Yeah, and it didn't happen. I was a little disappointed at that, but man, seeing Joffrey die is one of my favorite moments in the show.
What do we think is going to happen next week? Do we think we're going to see more Arya?
I think we'll see Arya for sure for the first time. We didn't see her at all this episode.
No, not at all. And who else did we were missing? We were missing what's their names from the north with Leech? No, that's not his name. What is his name? What do they call him now?
Somebody we're going to miss the entire season, and you might be talking about. We're not getting any of Bran.
No, I knew that. I know that one.
Yeah.
I knew that was coming. Which it sucks that they built up his story to that moment so early. All last season, and just now you're not going to have anything for them this season.
That's because they caught up too quickly on that storyline, and for some reason they're okay with going ahead of the books on some things, but not when it comes to Bran's storyline. They do not want to go ahead when it comes to that.
I mean, that's going to be kind of like the show ender. I feel like.
Sure.
Whatever happens up there. But I'm talking about what's the one where he captured what's his name from Winterfell, and then.
I know you're talking about. You're talking about the Ironborns.
Yes. Yes.
I can't think of his name on top of my head right now. Rob's friend, I guess you could say, that portrayed him and all that.
Right. I can't remember what name they gave him though.
Yeah, I don't. Oh, they called him. Oh God, why can't I think of this?
I don't remember at all.
Yeah, they gave him a different name to degrade him even further.
It was like 4 letters, and it was something Reek.
Reek, that's it, Reek.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know when he's coming back or if he's going to come back at all, because that was another one that last season they went ahead with. They went ahead with his storyline. So maybe this season they skip him entirely. That's weird about Game of Thrones is where we might lose some characters entirely this season and focus on others. But that might be good in some ways to have more of a focus on the characters that we love, like Daenerys and Jon and a few others as well. That's going to wrap it up for us, guys. We didn't get any calls, but that's okay. Thank you for all the people that are in the room. Puss from Hell, Stubby. We did get a couple follows. Let me read those off real quick. Thank you to the 3 follows tonight. Or actually, maybe 4. Yeah, 4 follows tonight. Super McNasty, Virgil0621, Ebenezer Giza, and Crackman14. Thank you so much for following the network. We do reaction time every single week. On here, twitch.tv/TheLevelUpShow. You can follow us right now. Hit the heart button live from PlayStation at the bottom of the screen. We'll shout you out real quick while I have the time. But these do also go up on YouTube. If you missed any part of this, go to youtube.com/TheLevelUpShow, level spelled LVL. Subscribe while you're there. Check out all of our other shows we've done. Like we completely did Walking Dead last season. We also did all of Better Call Saul. Greg and Dean are working on Flash, Arrow.
The last 2 episodes this week and next week.
Yeah, that's wrapping up pretty soon too, but we do have some other things on the way in the future, hopefully, like Leftovers. Daredevil's going on right now as well. We did just get another follow from Shiva. Thank you, Shiva, for the Twitch art. Really appreciate
us.
us.
Let us know if you want it. I'll even do Silicon Valley. There's a couple of us that watch that, and I love that.
Oh yeah? Who would you do Silicon Valley with?
I have no idea exactly who I would. I'm thinking I actually might do it with we'll talk about that another time.
Okay, that's fine. Miss Amanda, thanks for joining, but we're wrapping up right now. Mike, thanks for joining me, man.
Absolutely, every week.
Yeah, every week. This is your first time doing reaction time, so it's cool that you get to be a part of this now.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah,
sure, that's okay.
I'm thinking about it. I don't think this is my first reaction time. I think
you did a response time with me once.
Did I? I thought I did a reaction time with something else. I don't know. All right, cool.
It wasn't with me. I know that. This is my first time doing a reaction time with you, so this is cool. We'll be back next week, guys. Next Monday or Tuesday with Game of Thrones Season 5, Episode 2. Until then, as always, take care and level up.